Your Excellency Amadou Kone, Minister of Transport, Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, our host, Your Excellencies, the ministers from the Democratic Republic of Congo, the republics of Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, Nigeria, Namibia, Gabon, Tanzania, Mozambique, Tunisia, Ethiopia, Burundi, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe. What a very impressive showing. Heads of regional economic communities, heads of development finance institutions and their representatives, members of the diplomatic corps and representatives of international institutions, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome once again to the African Development Bank Transport Forum. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all this morning to the second edition of the AfDB Transport Forum 2024, themed Africa on the Move, Accelerating Sustainable Transport and Logistics Connectivity. This builds on the successful first AfDB Transport Forum, which brought together various practitioners and stakeholders who delved into and discussed the key issues and challenges facing the transportation sector on the African continent. We believe that the AfDB is centrally placed to generate knowledge products, foster knowledge dissemination, and catalyze innovation by providing the necessary linkages and synergies needed to unleash the development impact of transport in Africa. As you're aware, the AfDB is a major contributor to infrastructure development and financing of transformational, national, and cross-border projects on the continent. And we've done more than $44 billion invested in the past decade and also positioned ourselves as the resolute partner in efforts and initiatives aimed at strengthening planning, policy, and implementation of transport projects in Africa. It has over the years been our role to crowd in financing and facilitate development of large-scale critical regional programs in transport. And this is demonstrated in strategic initiatives such as the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, which we all call PIDA. And we've been working on this with the African Union, AfDB, and the UN Economic Community for Africa. We've also been looking at regional corridors and trans-African highway projects across all African regions with the regional economic communities. All these are aiming to foster regional cooperation and integration in support of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the Africa 2063 Agenda, the UN SDGs, and the AfDB's newly launched 10-year strategy with what we call our high five strategic priorities remaining relevant over the next decade as well. So furthermore, the AfDB is cautious of the imperatives of climate change and its effects on the transport sector. Therefore, we have embraced and are scaling up resilient and green infrastructure with climate finance and private sector by promoting climate resilient infrastructure across the continent. You all probably know the strong commitment of Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, President of the AfDB Group, to climate change solutions for Africa, especially as it relates to adaptation and the launching of a series of initiatives, including, first, the Climate Change Action Plan 2021 to 2026, with an ambitious target of $25 billion for adaptation finance by 2025, to scale up and accelerate climate change adaptation across Africa. Second, we have the Climate Action Window set up by the bank to fill the significant climate finance gap to be directed towards adaptation, 75%, mitigation, 15%, and technical assistance, 10%, by supporting countries to implement their nationally determined contributions and long-term strategies under the Paris Net Zero objectives. Thirdly, the Alliance for Green Infrastructure in Africa, which was launched at COP17 in Glasgow, which has now mobilized fundraising pledges of about $275 million towards project development and project preparation, Africa-focused MDBs, G7 countries, and philanthropists or foundations. The objective is to catalyze about $10 billion of total investments from private sector into green infrastructure in Africa. For all of you in the transport business, transport infrastructure, whether you're looking at PPP projects or you're looking at private concessions, we all know that the big challenge in Africa is not the need, it's really the dearth of bankable transactions. So this is one of our deliberate efforts in actually unlocking, unlocking really the market for project development in infrastructure, specifically green infrastructure. The target is to raise up to 500 million. We've done about 275 million to date. This is just an example of one of the key initiatives we're looking to implement, not just by ourselves, but with partners such as Africa 50, the African Union Commission, Outer NEPAD, and several others. So in spite of all these efforts, Africa's gap in infrastructure remains massive. So that's why the bank, in collaboration with other regional development banks, has established the Africa Investment Forum, now in its 6th edition, as an investment marketplace to accelerate the reduction of the continent's investment deficits through mobilization of private investment. With the remarkable outcome of the 2023 edition, the market days have attracted significant serious investment interest since the forum's 2018 debut. I hereby take this opportunity to invite you to the 2024 AIF, taking place on the 4th to 6th December in Rabat, Morocco, and my colleague, who's the special envoy to President Adesina on the AIF, Yassine Fall, is here as well and would be available to actually explain things to you. So, honorable ministers, your excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the AfDB views the transport sector as crucial for promoting inclusive growth and prosperity in collaboration with its regional member countries. It is also the anchor to successfully industrializing Africa and driving intra-Africa trade under the auspices of the AfCFTA. So resolving transport and logistics in Africa is key for our respective and aggregated economies to be competitive. So we're not looking at infrastructure really as an end-all. We're looking at infrastructure as an enabler to making sure we have competitive economies, we create jobs, and also we create quality jobs. And in particular, when we even look at transportation corridors going forward, the idea is not to just support the old model of industrialization, which was to export commodity products to overseas locations, transform them, and then re-import. What we want to do is we want to see greater value addition, within Africa. We want to see greater intra-Africa trade. This is part of the reason we're putting these logistics corridors together. Border posts are a key part of making these transportation corridors efficient. It's good to see more of scanning systems here. These are the sorts of, transportation corridor efficiency investments that we are going to look to pursue going forward. So today's Transportation Forum 2024 will provide the foundation for unlocking the impediments in the sector and unleashing the transformative power that the transport sector has to catalyze economic and social development and regional integration of our continent. The forum would undoubtedly advance sector dialogue between public and private sector for more efficient and sustainable transport sector critical for Africa's growth and prosperity. We do all of this with partners, so it's good to see colleagues from the World Bank. It's good to see colleagues from DBSA, from the AfriExim and others, because this is all really partnership-based. We don't have all the solutions, and we definitely don't have all the capital, so we need to really work together. So once again, on behalf of the African Development Bank, I wish to thank you for kindly honoring the invitation to be here today. The AfDB stands ready to listen, engage, discuss, and partner with you to support the socio-economic development of Africa through an efficient and sustainable transport sector. I wish you very fruitful deliberations over the next 3 days. Thank you.